Today we're going to talk about something that one of our subscribers posted a couple weeks back, and that is how to help a loved one in the midst of depression. I think that we are at least semi-qualified to talk about this because we have both been in that situation where we have a loved one who is dealing with depression. And so we did some research and we have some personal experience, and hopefully we'll be able to help you out. Welcome back to Erik and Arielle, where we are teaching you how to live a better life. If you haven't already, subscribe for more content like this. If you enjoy this video and you find it helpful, definitely leave a like. And comment if you have any other suggestions of videos that you want us to cover, anything that you're curious about. Don't feel like doing the research yourself, we'll be happy to do it for you. So both Arielle and I are going to give a quick story just about an experience that we've dealt with in this situation, and then we'll give some advice on how to deal with a situation such as this. I grew up knowing people with something called depression. I knew that those people took some sort of medication for it, but that is about the extent of what I knew about depression. Depression has been a taboo subject in mental health in general. Until recently, and now that it is more widely discussed, it has become apparent just how many people are dealing with these daily obstacles. Arielle was open and honest with me pretty much from the get-go, just that she did struggle with depression. She had some issues controlling her emotions, and that was never something that bothered me, but I don't think that I took it very seriously at the beginning. And sometimes I just wouldn't understand why she was feeling that way, and I kind of took it personally, and I was a bit selfish about it, and I would just get irritated that why can't she fix this? It should be something that she could switch off. It was really difficult sometimes because I just felt helpless. I couldn't really do anything to help her, and it took me a while to realize that it wasn't my job just to fix her depression, but it was my job to be a support for her. Now that we've been together for 6 years almost, I think that I realized what my role is in her struggle with this, and I think that role has been a lot better for her and for our relationship. True? Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I had a couple of people growing up that I knew had depression, and I didn't really get depressed until maybe junior high. And I'm not going to go into detail about who it was, but this person would get hit hard with depression multiple times. It felt like once one depression episode was over, they would have a couple good days and then right back down again. And this made them really almost lethargic for life, in the way of they never wanted to do anything, always sitting on the couch, didn't even really want to spend time with me, and I was too young to understand what that person was going through. Their depression did really put a strain on our relationship when I was younger, but it also made me realize just how low someone can get when they are dealing with depression. And I think that this has definitely helped me realize what other people go through when they aren't that depressed person. They're looking in from a perspective that, they might not know of. So the first thing that you need to learn when dealing with someone who is dealing with depression is educating yourself on what depression really is. Now, I know a lot of you, or maybe even some of you, may think that depression is someone being sad and don't really want to do anything. But if that's all you think depression is, you are really missing the mark. To know a few signs or ways that depression can rear its ugly head into someone's life is a very good start. It can affect someone's mood very drastically, ranging from angry or irritability, restlessness, hopelessness. It can also make the person feel really sad, lonely, or even empty. They might not have any interest in things that they liked doing. They also might feel tired all the time. They may even resort to using drugs or drinking more, and in the end, they also could just be suicidal. So this can make someone maybe not sleep well, not concentrate very well, or they may even start talking slower. Lastly, this can cause changes in things like their energy. They may gain or lose weight. They may have body aches or even a lower sex drive. But what actually causes depression? Well, unfortunately, a lot of it has to do with genetics. If your mom or dad has depression, there's a good chance that you will get it as well. But it also has to do with some brain activity. If the frontal lobe is actually less active than normal, that is a good indicator that that person might actually develop depression. Different disorders, such as any pain disorders or chronic illnesses, can actually cause depression as well. And the last thing to mention is trauma. Trauma is a big one that actually can cause depression, whether it's a childhood trauma or even a trauma that was just recent. Those are things to definitely be on the lookout for.
When you see somebody that you love struggling with depression, it's extremely difficult. And as guys especially, I know that our first instinct is just to try to fix it. We think if we can just find the root of the issue, we can remove it and they'll be cured. But unfortunately, this is not at all how depression works. It's caused by a variety of factors. It takes more than just our good intentions to fix it. What we can do is just be there as a support for that person. Be there as a support to listen and not talk. And this will mean so much more to that person in the end than we realize. Sometimes they will want to tell us every single thing that's going on. Sometimes they just want to be quiet and sit with us. And that's okay either way. In the end, us being there for them is what is going to really matter, and that is what they're going to remember.
As a depressed person myself, I have heard many people's opinions and advice, whether they're trying to help me or just be nosy and annoying. I do think that it's important to go over some things that shouldn't be said to someone going through depression, because they may not know it or not, but you could also just be causing it to be worse and causing more harm. So minimizing their emotions, calling them selfish, or comparing their depression to someone else's depression can be so belittling to that depressed person. Instead, you should tell them that you care, that you're here if they want to talk, and that you are trying to understand as best that you can. But just remember that this is a hard time for them, so if they don't want to come talk to you, it's not personal. So one of the worst things that I have been told was to either cheer up or get over it. Well, duh. Like, I obviously don't want to be miserable all the time, but thanks for the advice. That comment made me feel so crappy the rest of the day. Another good one that I've heard is, oh, you don't look depressed. Oh, you're not acting any different. Well, yeah, I'm not gonna shout to the moon that I'm depressed. I don't want people to know I'm depressed. We learn how to hide it very well, and a lot of people don't realize that. And the one thing that I cannot stand most in the world is if you are opening up to someone, you're trying to tell them what's going on, be really personal, and they take your story and compare it to their own and see who has it worse. I have met so many people when I'm trying to tell them something deep and personal, they compare it to what they've been through, and they make it a game of who has had the worst life. And my message to those kind of people are, don't be so selfish, and how about start caring about other people's feelings. Okay, thanks.
If you have done any of these things, don't beat yourself up too much. I have said some of these things as well, especially when I was much more ignorant than I was now. But just realize what depression is, educate yourself, and do better.
Do better. So, moving on from what we shouldn't say, we're going to get to a more serious topic of professional help. Now, unless you are a parent of a depressed person, you cannot physically make someone get professional help. Really, you can only encourage them to get their own help. Maybe you can offer to either go with them or make their doctor appointment for them, but in the end, it is ultimately their decision. However, since depression is a lot of the cause for suicide, I think that it's important for us to address some warning signs of that as well. If someone is doing the next few things that I am going to talk about, please don't hesitate and call 911. It isn't a joke. These people are serious. They're not playing a game. So, talking about suicide or getting their things in order, telling people goodbye, harming themselves, or even acting out in reckless ways can all be signs that maybe they are headed towards thinking about doing suicide. Another thing that they could be doing is looking for lethal weapons of any kind or medication. And the most prevalent one that I have seen a lot is they actually act very calm after a depressed episode. If someone is acting extremely calm right after they've been depressed, you need to keep an eye on them. So if you see any of those signs, it's not a joke, call 911. You need to take this seriously.
We've covered a lot about what you can do, what you shouldn't do to help someone that is in the midst of depression. But what about you? What can you do to take care of yourself? As much as you want to be there all the time and help that loved one, realistically, you just don't have the energy to be their therapist 24/7, and that's the harsh truth. Having a loved one that is depressed can be a big drain on your emotional and mental energy, and you do need to have time to recharge. What you can do is use that energy you have to listen and be patient with that person. If you're feeling overwhelmed, don't be afraid to ask for help from other friends and family members, and just be honest with yourself that you need to take some time away from the situation and just do some hobbies and relaxing things that you like. This will make you more prepared to be that support for that person, and it will also keep you grounded and objective through the situation.
I know that this topic is pretty heavy and maybe really personal to some of you, but like we said, this was requested from someone, and we want to be able to help as many people as possible. So if someone's asking for a question, we're going to fulfill that need, whether it's a happy topic or not. I want to thank you guys for staying as long as you did, and hopefully you learned a little bit out of it.
As always, thank you guys for watching. Subscribe, like the video, all that jazz. Find us on our social medias, and we will see you next Thursday.
See ya. Boom! Are you okay?
I thought something was about to fall on me. Oh my God, I feel so tad and vulnerable.